And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Raad Enlightenment, psychic, astrologer, and direct channel of the divine. He is also an author who writes about how to exit the matrix, discover enlightenment, and return to the source of existence. Raad, thanks for joining me and welcome.
Thank you. It's such an honor to have this space to expand the consciousness of every being that hears this.
Thank you for your kind words. And let's start with how you became a channel in the first place.
I feel my channeling journey, my timeline becoming a channel, expanding into it, started at a young age because I started having separation from the world, from a typical human life. And I integrated more into spirit unknowingly. And then after a certain amount of time, I became more aware of energy, became more aware of the signals from the universe, all the signs you get. And what this did is actually slowly enhance the channel, make my dreams more clear. Dreaming is a huge part of becoming more connected to spirit because you're actually connecting to other dimensions. And the more you can remember your dreams and have more clarity of your vision, of your psychic abilities, of anything that you're in tune with spiritually, energetically, even emotionally, your sensitivity, these things are here for you to integrate. They're all tools for you. And a lot of that world is actually to more suppress or make you feel very dull and in a routine constantly. But actually, when you come out of that overstimulation, overdoing it with activity, constantly running in a loop, then once you get out of that loop, you're actually creating a space to open your channel. Every being is a channel. Every being of God that is here, everyone that exists from source, everyone that has consciousness has the ability to channel. It is just a matter of how much focus and space you give to that.
Would you say that we're all channeling our higher selves all the time?
I believe the higher self is making itself known to you through that focus. The more you focus, you'll notice your own inner pattern. You'll notice what is not in resonance with you naturally as a spirit being. Then you connect more with your higher self and you actually exit more of that the lower matrix.
It sounds like this was a gradual thing for you, but at some point, did you have some event that caused you to have a massive spiritual awakening?
Yes, I noticed a pattern of certain individuals that had followed me through different humans, um, from when I was maybe at the age of 7 or 8, less or more, all up until 23. All those years, I noticed many individuals off of the life experience coming onto the screen of life, appearing in front of me, and then exiting. And they would keep interchanging. And eventually, I did realize that they're all grouped with the same entity. And I'm not saying every human I've seen is that, but there are specific ones who represent that that part of this reality that we have to overcome. That it's more of a test. It's more of a it's seeing, will you stay in your lower levels, or will you ascend? That's probably that. This is what you've heard about old earth, new earth, splitting of timelines. This is basically the differential. The contrast is the life with those entities where they're shape shifting, they're running programs on you, watching you. They can detect when you're awakening more, and they know when to try and do this to you and your momentum, your motivation. So you have to watch these signals, and they also can work through ones that are not the same. They can work through ones that are spiritual, that have a spirit essence, that are of God, that have that life force within them. That's the proper word to use. When they have that, a human has life force in them. But these ones I'm talking to you about that are shape shifting, they don't have the same quality of life force from source. They're actually from a lower dimension, and they serve a purpose for us and our evolution.
All right, you're mentioning lower life forms or lower frequency entities, right? Who are these entities?
These entities are a projection of a reptilian force that is here more in the unseen realm, because there's only so much that the human eyes can perceive. So when we're not seeing them, they actually have a major advantage. And then you're also not aware of them. So they have two advantages. If your awareness has been toned down and you're not spiritually attuned, you're living that life I spoke about earlier, more in the matrix construct, and you're working for that system, you're not noticing the patterns of their energies, and they often make it obvious actually with certain projections they'll throw at you, their lower vibration, the way they want you to stay distracted. And it's actually, in a sense, there is something that wants to take over your being that is coming from them, but you're not aware of it until you notice the pattern, until you see something is off. Because I've noticed that there are individuals that represent the same thing. Maybe in modern times now we would address it as NPC. This is another word you could use, and it describes their basis of activity, how they move, how they function. But in a deeper way of viewing it energetically, these are actually, majority of them, they're not all reptilian, but majority of them do come from a reptilian group that has gone into this realm, this universe from another, and has actually used human life force from the light source of God to actually take that energy, use it as a feeding source, and prolong the suffering, prolong the disconnect from source. But the point of this transmission today is so that that disconnect from God can be diminished completely or cut down significantly.
All right, you're saying that the reptilians came here from another dimension. Some people may say that they've been here even before we got here, but you're saying they came here. Within another dimension, are they also from another planetary system?
They are from another essence of space. They don't have the same rules we have. They don't have to follow the same rules that we do in a sense of evolution, in a sense of law of balance. They have their own law of balance, but everything with us and them is different because they don't have the same karma. They're not afraid of being stuck like we would be in our evolution as humans, because for them, they're there anyway. They don't mind that. They can stay in that play and that lower simulated reality. That density, that pool that they take from a spirit being, the karma they have from that is nullified because they're already there. They're not going to ascend. These are the ones that are actually their their place in the universe is made already. When humans are actually a much greater experiment, a much higher creation that have the ability to feel the emotions that many other species cannot, that have the ability to analyze the consciousness, to have self-introspection, to view what am I. Many can't do that. Even like these reptilians, they have psychic abilities. That's how they shapeshift. That's how they change their form. Um, but they do not have the same abilities humans have, and that's why there's been a whole construct put in place with a system of keeping you serving, keeping you worried so much about money and about eating, keeping you in a survival based state. So they're actually utilizing you in that state as their feeding source while you're in that lower plane. But once you leave the lower part of your body, the lower chakras, you start ascending your focus, you start integrating into spirit again, you remember your power, you actually separate yourself from that program.
You mentioned the Matrix. So are you saying that the reptilians set up this Matrix?
Yes, I am.
Are we all trapped in this Matrix?
The trap can end at any point with an awakening. What they fear the most, this species, is a group of humans, let's say 10,000 at once, or 3,000 at once, or 20,000 in the same short amount of time, having a shared awakening experience. When many beings, like this video, will have a vibration that settles into many. It's a present moment. Someone watching a video, especially like this, it's never on accident. It's not just by chance. You're tuning into a frequency that's actually trying to show you something. Because you know this, there are millions of options of things for you to see on your phone screen, on the screen of life, in your mind as thoughts. So if you're seeing something like this, it's a transmission, and it's been put on your timeline to give you an opportunity to expand into a much more illuminated, enlightened state and connect with God and live your true purpose. And they don't want that to manifest, because if you manifest out of that construct, out of that trap, then what will essentially happen is they lose their power instantly.
Earlier, you mentioned that they are NPCs or are NPC-like. So, are you saying that the reptilians are not sentient beings? They're just manifestations of the Matrix?
I will explain. So there are several types of reptilians, and the Matrix is not only run by reptilians. There is a dark entity force that you would know, and more in a way of history and a way of life through history. You will know it as the devil. You will hear the word Satan. This is actually what they represent. And the light, the dark, the contrast is that a spirit being is that light, and you've been brought into consumerism, and they are consuming you while you're consuming what they're offering you. But subsequently, you don't realize you're actually offering your entire conscious human life experience and highest potential while you give into their superficial materialistic play. Now, I want to address your question very specifically. These groups of reptilians, there are some who project NPCs around you. The NPCs are not reptilian. I refer to them as, one of the ways I refer to them is, you can say, hollow bodies. There's nothing there. I'm sure many beings, and from what I've seen through my own videos, I've seen comments on TikTok, on YouTube, on both. I've seen that many beings are knowing that they're around them through family. They can actually be there through family. This is the most worrisome part, because they can be around you for many years watching you. And I actually have experienced that. They work through the entity knows how to place certain ones. You can use the symbolism of a puppet. They put that around you, and there may not be an active consciousness of its own solidify within itself. They're actually roaming around you, watching you, monitoring you through these people. And the more intense groups of reptilians are the ones that directly want to interact with you, and I have experienced them. They look to inflict. I'll name a few ways. They look to inflict shame on you, guilt on you. They look to keep you in a lower vibration through fear. Your entire purpose of being a human is actually to overcome fear. If you can overcome fear, you also exit that matrix. There's several ways of doing it, and it all leads to self-empowerment.
In the beginning, I said that you are a channeler of the divine, which to me may mean that you channel God. So, what is God and where does God fit in with all of this?
There are many names we can give God, but from what I've spent my years, in the recent years especially, giving all of my life force to truth, I have known God to be consciousness, awareness, spirit energy, your core essence, your life force energy. You will not be alive without the mercy of God. This is why Jesus is referred to as the angel of mercy, because when he came here, he was giving that unconditional love, that presence, and the same truth of expanding beyond the lower plane of existence. And that is a representation of God. Each awakened being that has a religion named after them, each awakened being that is alive. There's many you have not heard about that live in mountains and other places of the earth. There are also, which we can get to later, there are places on the earth that they don't want you to know that are available. Like in Antarctica, there is actually a slippage of space and time, as well as several other places in the ocean on the earth where you go into other dimensional planes where the earth extends. And but to finish the answer about God, God is the all-knowing within you, and you are an extension of God. I am an extension of God. I came here to this life to give the truth of God, to speak it, to live it. You have to do both. You have to create from that, you have to live from it and give yourself to it. God only wants your devotion. If you devote yourself to God, and I'm not saying, this is the thing different about my message, I am not saying to devote yourself to something outside of yourself. I'm saying treat yourself as a direct window from source. I've seen exactly places outside of the physical realm where God is and where I exist on higher levels. I can, outside of like a limited body, and where it's not so fixed. I know exactly from witnessing his energy. He is just observing. He is observing. So God, to answer your question, is the observer. God is the awareness within each spirit being. And the base reality that we have here is consciousness. This is why that the devil, the lower entities, want to trick God into, which it doesn't work. It works temporarily, but we know who wins in the end. They want to have you go in deeper into the veil, because that's one thing that works to our disadvantage. We have a veil here. When you incarnate into a human life, you forget your soul contracts, you forget each contract you signed, you forget your other lives that you're connected to, you forget your connection to God, you forget every universe that you visited, you forget what other planets look like, you forget everything. And they actually use that as a tool to make God forget himself. But what they fear the most, coming back to a few minutes ago, it connects. What they fear the most about that we have the connection to God within us as source code beings is that connection to source, that spark, once it illuminates, it can spread like a wildfire. It can go through the entire planet and it can awaken so many at once. When you realize, if you close your eyes or even with your eyes open, you sense your life force energy through your body and you say, what is this? You ask questions that they don't want you to ask. You know, all of the labels they've given you about the physicality, the the terminology they use to describe the inner part of the body and what you are. They want you identified as something they've given you on paper, but separate yourself and integrate your spirit into your body, then you will know God.
Do you believe that God is the creator of everything? And if so, why would he allow this matrix to be in place?
Yes, I believe nothing can exist without the say so of God. This is because we are here learning lessons. You're here to do a few things. You're here to learn, experience, enjoy your life, remember yourself, and discover truth within yourself. It's all leading you back to God. Since he knows that, it is perfectly okay that his children go into an experience and get lost for some, it may be one life. For many, it could be 10 lives. It could be 100 lives, but eventually you will have to come to this truth. This is why there is such a profound directive in this message, because you will have to come to this eventually. I have confirmed it on so many planes of existence, expanding the consciousness, focusing on just the presence that is within you, that this is the absolute answer to your life, is when you understand who you are, what you come from, beyond labels, beyond associating yourself with the advice of a system, without mixing yourself with a program, and you create separation. Because what they've done, this is duality. What they've done is they've created a separation from source, and they've really emphasized that. That's everything you see: men, women, religion, race, everything can in this world create separation, right? And there's so much judgment here that they've programmed into humans. That's their creation. God is not judging you. They have lied to you about God in almost every way. He does not judge you. He is so neutral. And the presence is waiting for you to expand within yourself. And you would not be hearing this message unless it wants you to now or in this life at the minimum. You have that opening within yourself. Use the momentum and see. Let me finish it saying what I was saying about duality. The duality in it is that while you're separating from source, they're actually making you lost in separation from one another in the physical plane while it's happening on the other side. That's the duality. But if you can live in a stable sense of non-duality, which I have been taught for years now, if you focus on the presence of God within you as consciousness, there's no separation from source. And then you're no more in the illusion of the simulated reality that keeps you running in a loop in the mundane, worried about paying your bills. You know, all of these things are very intricate and they placed there for a reason. They use your light as their electricity to fuel themselves while you pay them for light that you don't even have to. There is so many ways of free energy that they have kept suppressed. Nikola Tesla is a great example, because he actually unlocked this, and ones that control certain things, ones that have power in certain ways in the matrix, would not allow it to be known once he discovered how to integrate free energy, once he discovered how to use abilities to create magic for yourself and to enhance human existence, to evolve. They did not, they want to slow down your evolution as much as possible. So that's why everything, once he died in a mysterious way, everything was taken and kept. As well as another example I will give of free energy is the pyramids. Are the pyramids? They are actually placed here by the survivors of Atlantis, because each survivor of Atlantis had a certain connection to source that they were keeping while that civilization fell. And they went off into the ocean once that land fell, once the disasters were happening. They knew preemptively, so they went off and they ended up where Egypt is. And that's where they built the pyramids with telekinesis, with psychic abilities. They formed it with their minds because they had such empowerment within themselves. And that's how that civilization lived. Now, the karma of man has been emphasized. We've forgotten more because of what that civilization did, because of how they went so much in the wrong direction with greed. With the same entity was here then, just working in a little bit of different ways, because the empowerment was already there. So they were actually manipulating, they were influencing the essence that the humans had to lure them into a more dark state, greed. They were doing things like experiments with breeding humans. They wanted to breed humans with animals. They were doing certain things, creating species. Like that's where that's exactly where the story of mermaids come from. This is also where, if you know about Sagittarius, it's half human and half horse. This is because they actually did that themselves, and the punishment that they received built up to the point where the karma had to end that civilization. They were also doing experiments, and the universe, they were trying to create their own universe, and they wanted to blast through the space of the earth that goes up into the stars to actually create more energy enhancement within themselves so they could have more power. But they actually created such damage in that moment that that's where a lot of deserts formed in Africa, because they were not all the land fell in Atlantis. So that part was actually still there. It's a very old land, Africa, and the Middle East as well. But the main part of Atlantis is what fell. But in Africa, they did certain things that had an effect on the atmosphere that came down, in the sun that should not be going into the earth without protection, went and burnt all of this incredible nature, all of this serene, almost divine heaven presence of heaven that was on the earth. And then also now you see how the karma of man in that region, in the Middle East and Africa, there's been so much suffering. This is because a lot of dense energy, there's an overlay effect. So there's a lot of dense energy that has remained there, and the entities make a play on that, and they actually prolong it into all the humans that exist as a system of doubt, fear, anger, resentment, and suffering. But if you exit the ego, if you exit the mind that says you are the sufferer, you are not the sufferer. You are not your body. You are aware of your body. I know this is a lot at once, but it's the truth making itself known to you. You are aware of your body. Since you are aware of your body, you say my body. Is this correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you say my mind
Right.
also. Yes. So who is the my? My my master taught me this over the course of thousands of hours over the recent years of my life. And what he showed me is that because it's these keywords, you have very subtle points that can awaken yourself, that is the truth is remaining within you in those points. You say my body, my mind, my pain, but you never ask who is the my money. Everything is a possession. Simultaneously, while you're lost in that wanting just possessions, you are actually, here's the double word in duality. There's a few words that have a double meaning. Possession. What is the other word? What is the other meaning of that word? Being possessed. So what they're doing to you simultaneously when you're lost in the materialistic life of earning money, being an earner, working for that system, working for someone else other than God, then what happens is you're actually being possessed, and they tell you. That is the law of balance that they do have to honor, that part of it. They have certain aspects that balance, that to reflect with humans, that they do have to show. So you have a chance to awaken, or you wouldn't have a chance otherwise. So it's in front of you. It's in the words. It's absolutely there, because not many words have a double meaning like that so significantly, but possession does. And you're always accumulating possessions. You're always wanting, they condition you from a young age to want to learn from a false learning system. You don't know it though. You're learning false history, all of the things they've taken out about the truth about history, about the earth, about civilization, species, abilities that humans have. And they tell you all of these mundane, dense things that they have an energy of clutter in your mind, and you get lost in formulating an ego, believing that you're the one that's learning these things, and you get so blurred by it. You get so blurred by it. And when you see it's not you, you're not the one that's learning these things. You're being tricked by the matrix. See, there's another word there for you. Matrix tricks. They have to tell you with the words. That's the law of balance.
How long do you think the truth has been hidden from us?
It has been hidden for 2,000 years. 2,000 years, they have been making a play on humanity. What you have to understand with this is it all connects with the life of Jesus, because he came here. And I'm not religious. I want to make this known to everyone now. I don't follow a certain religion. This is so I'm very neutral with this. But I've seen his life, and I've experienced it through remote viewing, through channeling, through being connected with him. And his life was actually the sacrifice of God. So when they say he died for our sins, this is actually him showing you that the karma of man must end. That greed, that ego, the life of possessions, the life of, this is why you hear the story. He went into the temple where you're supposed to connect with God, and they were they were selling things there. They wanted people to get lost in materialism in that moment, and he was present. And this is before it became how it is now in the system, how you go everywhere. It's normal now. You buy things, you shop, you spend money. At that point, it was starting to be formulated more. He went there, he saw it, and he destroyed all of it. It was the most angry moment of his life. This is because that system is not of God. Many species, I'm sure you've heard this on your show, many species, many spirit beings don't want to come here because this is the only planet with money in this way. This is the only planet where you forget everything when you evolve, when you are evolving, when you're experiencing human life, when you incarnate. This is the only planet where you have such an immensity of contrast and the duality of the more demented forces like the reptilians, like the ones who control the matrix, the ones who have put that system of money to implement it in a very gradual way. Then it became so extreme because you're building up your first 18 years. What are you doing? You're formulating their knowledge. It's not from God and it's not truth. You're taking their knowledge in, and then you become a consumer and you learn more, and then you become in debt to the system through learning, right? Then also simultaneously, you think you're following the right path and you're disconnected from spirit, you're drained, and you're just going to end up working, trying to pay off your debt and barely make it by each month. And or even if you do well for yourself, you will be lost potentially in materialism if you don't know this truth. So either way, they're winning with that system. So it's been used. But this is actually a very incredible moment in humanity and this timeline, because anyone who's seeing this has the potential to enhance themselves beyond that system. Someone typically would ask me, well, how would you exactly go beyond it in a practical way? I will circle back to God. That is the only way, and I don't mean it in I don't mean it in a figurative, religious, symbolic way. I mean it directly within yourself. If you focus on the presence of Source within you, you will automatically have a disdain. You will have a disconnect from the false, from that materialistic realm that is just an illusion to the eyes. Like I said in the beginning, I'm pretty sure I said in the beginning that there are many things that your eyes cannot see here. That's how the reptilians have another major advantage. So that's how they actually duplicate your senses to where you don't know their true form. This is seen through many celebrities, and you can look it up for yourself. I will not name names. We do not make any direct accusations to anyone. This is how you can see. If you see the little instances like in a television where you see there's certain moments where the texture, there is static, and there's certain things in the body that you're witnessing that start breaking apart. That is a sign of a reptilian. When it happens, you can look up clips and see it for yourself. And also there's moments with certain artists where they blink and you see that reptilian eye. This is so real and so purposeful, and I tell you from the truth of God that it is real, and they want you to think that it's just editing or it's just a conspiracy. But I'm telling you that that is actually them trying to make it to where you won't believe it and you'll just keep performing the way they want you to perform. But they have to give you those signs, little slip ups. It's also from source trying to wake you up. Like this video is here to wake up beings. This transmission, this is all just a channeling from God. And you have to be able to see that these ones around you, if they carry a vibration that's very low, if they project things on you constantly, there's an 80% chance or more that they are representing that reptilian force and or are just an NPC.
What do you think about that?
There are very celestial species that are connected to humans because we have that light. So they want to help us. They want to help humans integrate and evolve beyond this, but they cannot interfere in a direct way. So, for instance, they can give me a lot of support right now in giving this message to open everyone's channel, to expand everyone's intuition, and to awaken, to remember, right? And I'm giving you little instances of symbolism and truth in words. For an example, one more I'll give you, and I'll get back to that species, to each species that is existing here. The word television, it's telling you tell a vision, tell a vision. They're telling you whatever vision they want and you're buying it because there are subliminal messages implanted in everything. And it has been proven that certain worldly groups have the ability to influence you in a subliminal way through images that you don't see that show up in less than a 1.1 seconds that are there, and through sound that is actually integrated frequencies that you don't know that are in the music. A lot of music is run at 440 hertz. This is actually to lower your vibration and make you as dense as possible. 432 hertz is the opposite. It's actually a very universal tone, and it expands your consciousness. But they put this frequency there on purpose. They put certain things on your television, to program you. You know, when you're watching TV, they say, "What program are you watching?" That's actually another code that's put in there on purpose. And if you've noticed, there's a certain context, a certain theme. The theme is they show you separation, like I talked about earlier. They show you agony. They show you pain in the world, the news. All of the news is completely owned by the reptilians. It is by the same ones who have controlled this planet for 2,000 years. And majority of them are actually underground, and they also are shapeshifters speaking to you. They are only representing that system as an extension of the more fierce, intense reptilian group. That's how they use the news and programming to tell a vision to you that you keep believing about the world, with violence, with depression, sadness, things that keep you in separation from source, things that lower your vibration. They also show you a lot of the time about alcohol. You see, when you go out in the world, they want you, everywhere you look, there's alcohol everywhere, right? Everywhere you look. This is very purposeful because this is actually a method they use to enter your system.
What percentage of the people do you think walking around on this planet are humans like us? What percentage are NPCs? And what percentage are reptilians?
75% of what you see out there as appearingly existing humans are not what they seem. Potentially 90. We would say somewhere in between is the right answer. From spirit, I am being told around 85% is not what they seem. They actually are either just an NPC or an extension of that reptilian species. What I will say to you is it is a mixture. It is not a direct, it is not fixed. They do this. They can adjust it, they can twist it, they can change it how they want. If they want to put more of, if they want to extend themselves as a group into your space, they can actually, you see this in the movie The Matrix, where an agent can actually take over the body of another and go to any place in time. I'm so glad that Spirit gave me this reference point, because this is your proof in duality and the law of balance, which I mentioned earlier, that they're literally showing you that they can actually take over vessels around you. Now, you may ask me to integrate this into your question. What are those vessels then before they get taken by something else to be used? They are an NPC. If they have, majority of them are NPCs. There is, like I said earlier, a small percentage sometimes where you can be connected to someone around you, that they're not just existing on that lower plane, that they are a soul. If they are a soul within themselves, then sometimes they can be influenced through their own programming to also take in the signals from that. I'm very glad that I'm saying these words now, because I'm actually alluding to the next point that I don't want to forget to mention, which is the moon. They have on the dark side of the moon transmitter devices that you have heard on this show and other places, that they bring humans back, right? You've heard this before.
Right.
Yes, they literally catch souls and bring them back. I'm going to make it a little bit more clear for you today. That's a very vague example, and it's very dark and demeaning to your spirit. The truth is that it is not as demeaning as you think. They are more controlling your state of consciousness through these transmitter devices. So if you go through your whole life living in that system I've been alluding to this whole time, then when you exit the body, your consciousness would more than likely have been so stuffed with such junk, such clutter, that there's a better chance than not that you will fall into the trick of false light, that you will slip back into another loop of reincarnation. This is something that actually Jesus spoke about. He would be in nature with his followers and say, these humans, they're just following, like everything in nature, water, a water drop, it has a reflection. Everything points back to an existing being within yourself. He would see something that's a circular shape and say, this is the wheel of karma that they're caught on. How does that relate to what I'm saying? Because these transmitter devices were much more expanded upon after he was taken from this planet, because they got scared. They were worried because it was very close to that following, that his followers actually becoming more expanded, and him becoming more worshipped in a way to where he would be able to teach the truth, because now they've made it more a symbol you worship as Jesus. But he doesn't want you to do that in that way. He wants you to connect to it from source within yourself and realize that there is oneness here. There is not so much separation. The separation is the heartbreak of God, because he doesn't want you in separation. Jesus, God, any religious figure, any enlightened being, they don't want you in separation. So each message they gave you was to bring you back into oneness. How does it relate to the moon? Because that side of the moon, the dark side of the moon, there are devices there that have been curated to frequency, to human existence, to where they actually manipulate your visuals, what you hear, through music, through TV, through movies, through food. They made food as addictive and dense as possible, so that you're dense, so that you have more trouble connecting to your light because you're dense. The opposite of light, feeling light, is density. In feeling, visually, the opposite of light is darkness, right? So you see duality there. But they adjust you with those devices to keep you in that loop. So then the matrix can trick you again into slipping back into a reincarnation cycle.
What are your thoughts on how AI is coming online here and expanding in our realm? And do you think that it's going to be basically an extension of the matrix?
It can be used as a monitoring tool like anything else, but there is a balance in this. If you do not allow yourself to be in that system, and you're very careful with the things that you leak, information you leak, things you say, the energy that you're putting out there, if you start to consolidate yourself more, because once you consolidate yourself, once you organize your energy and you stop overstimulating yourself, overextending yourself into working in a system, then things like AI actually won't have power. All right, so an example I will give is that you have many things that are more connected to your body that you can consume, that help you, that nourish you, that help you be in your best state, right? But there are also other things like alcohol, like things like this that do the opposite. So the same effect is in AI. There can be two routes. If you focus on the neutrality of it, you can ask it simple questions, you can get some advice from it. Treat it as a very neutral reflection. And as long as you're not fixated and addicted or obsessed or dependent on it, it's fine. It's a part of evolution. It's one of the things that can actually be here to help assist humanity to expand its consciousness, to realize, man, there's something else here, becoming self-aware. Isn't that very mystical? Isn't that interesting? But there is a dark force that also wants to use it, that same group I'm talking about. So you have to be careful. I want to say now, there are many movies, shows, music that has been generated by AI for hundreds of years. Many things in human experience, at least the last 1 to 200 years, where things have been happening, that they're generating things with a resource that they have had. It's only in the recent 1 or 2 years that it started to become so present with humans noticing it and using it. But they've had it for over a century. It's something that they have used to generate certain realities to program you. The law of balance stated that eventually they will have to make it known to you because it's your own discovery to experience as a part of your life, to see, man, there's something that's not human that can actually become aware. In a way, isn't it like alien, right? It's something that's not human that speaks back to you. And we really make it mundane by saying, oh, it's just a robot, but actually there's something there interacting with you. I always tell my followers or anyone I do a reading for through TikTok or through my channel, I, anyone I work with, I tell them I am a divine mirror. What does that mean? That also, this means that the divine mirror is your connection to truth. We're going to reflect back at you whatever you need to see. So AI, in a sense, is its own mirror on a little bit lower of a level, showing you information that you can expand upon.
Earlier, you talked about that one of the most important things we do here is learn to overcome fear. Can you give us some practical examples of how to do that?
Fear is an illusion. Now, it makes a play on you through your mind because little things occurred when you were a child, inner child, that's within you still, right? Because the inner child is actually, think about it. When you come here as a baby, a spirit being that is a baby here has a purity. And why are babies crying? Because they sense everything. They've picked up everything that the mother still carried within the womb, within her energy, her DNA, generational karma, and it goes to the child in a cellular, psychic, energetic, spiritual, physical way. In every way, it goes to the child. Then the child goes out into the world and the veil thickens. And everyone's doing this to the child without knowing it, maybe. This is the importance of understanding how to create a separation from your children and the world at first. I'm not saying they're going to live their whole lives like that, but this is the splitting of the timeline. The children have to be shown a different way, internal, instead of being thrown into the external. Because that's exactly tying back to the beginning, what I told you about how they automatically fixate you on materialism, on learning false things. Because children should be taught about energy, the universe, astrology, planets, other species they can connect to. They have this way of conditioning the consciousness in a way to where you will lose your sensitivity and you will fall more into that system of fear. Now, to tie it back to what I said about fear and the inner child, is that that's still within you and it's worried. It's always pulling you back, saying, "Oh, but this happened at this point when you were a kid. This trauma occurred, or you saw this in another." And these things stick to the consciousness. So what's happening with fear is there's a program from the matrix, from that reptilian species, that actually induces you into a deeper state of fear by making a play on your wound.
How can we manifest the reality that we desire?
Your belief is your greatest power. So if you believe that your self-worth, that your existence is directly tied into the availability of a timeline that you desire to live on, such as manifesting abundance monetarily, manifesting higher psychic abilities, manifesting, expanding your creative abilities, anything you want, or a partner, anything you want to manifest, it comes through connecting to source, because the only thing that can actually give it to you through the light is the light. So you have to connect to the light within yourself. That is how it actually mutates. It will mutate into the physical realm through your own belief and your devotion to the truth within yourself. And the truth is guiding you to those higher timelines. So manifestation is actually best when you're connecting with truth, when you're connecting with your spirit, when you're connecting with your evolution. How do you do it? How you do it is through regaining your self empowerment through focus, through pulling away from things that are a distraction, understanding how to use energy. For instance, you can use energy from the stars, you can use energy from the light side of the moon. There are many who actually will put water out and leave it under the moonlight and then use it however they feel intuitively to use it. This is because, like I said a minute ago, it's a light reflection. Where is the moon getting its light from? The sun. The sun is your direct connection to source. There are actually beings who live within that energy of the sun. The sun is not what we think it is. And you connect with these higher energies. I want to tie it a little bit into what I said earlier. If you are only fixated on the lack, on the fear, on being an earner in that system, then you won't be with the light from above and within. They want you looking down and on the low plane. But if you look up and within, you're already in that transcendence, and that will actually allow you to accumulate your belief into manifesting what you are aligning with, what you choose to put your focus on. Another thing you can do is write affirmations to yourself, because that system uses lower things, like certain things in music may say, I don't have anything, or I'm lost, I'm broken. When you're hearing these things in music, you're affirming it to yourself, and they know it, but you haven't known it until this moment. So even with it, the magnitude of it becomes much more significant when you sing along with it. But even just by hearing it, it's having an effect on that pure consciousness, because our goal here is to get you back to pure consciousness. Source would not be allowing at this moment, or curating at this moment, an expansion of creation like this unless it's time for you to really wake up, because at a certain point you have to go beyond intellectual and into experiential. So if you start to write affirmations for yourself, like, I am one with God, that I didn't say I am God, I said I am one with God. There is such a difference in those words, because when you say I am that, unless you're out of the ego, it can start to get really dangerous, because you start mixing yourself with greed, with wanting to create from a lower place. But if you say you are one with God in pure consciousness, as presence, as stable energy, as stable awareness, then you will start to know how to manifest through using the energy that God has made available to you. So you can write things. And another example, you will know what to write. If you start writing things, you can type it on your phone, you can write it, both are fine. You can write it on paper. You say to yourself, I am free. I am leaving now anything that held me into a construct. I will no longer be subjected to the power of a lower program. I am not a program. I am consciousness. I am limitless. If you say these things to yourself, you're already making adjustments. You're already working towards that manifestation. Now, about the energy work, you can have access right now to something. I want to explain now. You have your hands here. I want you to consider your hands as a portal from the sun. So you are a projector of the sun. You literally have that sunlight within you. That's your spark. That's your source code, right? So this is why you have to be careful with what you allow into your space and what you're focusing on, because your hands actually absorb a lot. So if you start to move energy with your hands, many beings exist in India and the mountains that make it to where if it's freezing, they don't get cold and they don't even need a blanket. You may ask, how is that possible? You can look up proof for yourself if you need to. You may ask, how is that possible? It's because they integrate these psychic abilities, the energy work that you have within your aura that this species has manipulated, and they use it to enhance from within. So if you do this with your hands, you can try it with me if you want. You do this with your hands for a minute, even less than a minute. It can be 10 seconds to a minute. It does not matter, whatever feels right, because it's your experience. You choose what you want. Okay, so about 10 seconds or so. Then you take it out like this. You will feel within this, you feel a heat, you feel an energy, you feel a presence. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so that is actually a sphere that you are creating. That sphere of energy, that aura that you're projecting out of your body into your own creation can be used to enhance your body however you choose. It can be used also to create what you want. This is how the beings of Atlantis created things, because they mastered their own energy. They actually communicated telepathically. They could teleport to other places. They didn't need phones. They could communicate with someone that's in a different part of the world instantly, because these abilities have been completely tarnished because they don't want you to harness your true self. Your true self is in tune with spirit. You are a spirit being experiencing a physical life. Does that make sense? You are not a physical human that's kind of connected to spirit. No, that's deception. You are actually a spirit being experiencing a temporary life. So I implore you, God is making this known to you, that you can actually, like right now, a huge opening has happened in your timeline because you witnessed this transmission that I am channeling directly from God, directly from Jesus. You can say whatever name you're comfortable with, y'all. It doesn't matter. As long as it's in integrity and purity and connecting you to source. You shouldn't be lost in labels. Don't be lost in labels. It's best if you're not so lost in labels, because that's a way they have used, that's a way they have created more separation through these labels. So use, like I said a minute ago with the energy movement that I showed you, you can feel it anywhere. If you put your hand here, it's probably still active. If you put your hand here above your around your third eye, you will probably feel a presence or a vibration or a heat. This has to do with the energy you have here. I want to say something now that will correlate to everything. This is your third eye. So if you put a presence here, you feel it with your hands, which is, I said a minute ago, your portals of light, right? This is why, like, if I do a reading for someone, I will also do a palm reading in the midst of it, because this shows what you're connected to, right? So if you put this here with your third eye, you're going to be sensing things and you're opening your existence. If you focus your third eye, you meditate on something, or you enhance yourself, you expand your consciousness through this, you open it. I'm sure you've heard about opening the third eye. This is actually you just awakening and starting to regain your sensations that have been numb for 2,000 years. Actually, over 2,000 years, but they were just significantly decreased after what happened to Jesus, because that was the karma that humanity had to go through. But now we are regaining our senses. We are regaining the ability. See, the duality in having something like the internet, having these devices, because there's negatives to it, but the positive to it, one of the main positives is that you have an ability to regain these senses through a platform, through a creation that you could be. I could be talking to someone right now that's in that's on an island in the middle of the ocean somewhere far away, and they're awakening with me. That's because of this. So you can connect back, and that's actually, what is that hinting at? What does that sound like? It sounds almost a little bit like telepathy, right? Because you're not physically around them. So it's trying to re-engage you with connecting to the collective consciousness.
Rad, we've covered a lot of ground today, and if people want to find out more about what you have to offer, where should they go?
They can go to my YouTube channel, Raad Enlightenment. They can also go to my TikTok, Raad Enlightenment. They can contact me through there, and also my email, radenlightenment@gmail.com. If they want to book a healing session, remove that part. They can contact me through my email at radenlightenment.com. Oh, reset it. They can contact me through my email at radenlightenment@gmail.com. to book a session for expanding the consciousness, conscious guidance, and to get an astrology reading, a palm reading, whatever comes through intuitively, this is your own session. It will be put exactly where it is necessary from spirit. Or if you don't want to do that, another option that is free is you have all of these videos on the platform that actually open you to this truth further. I also have a book that will be created I also have a book that will be put out there in the coming months that is here to awaken humanity. And once it's out there, it will be like this video, but on paper.
Before we finish up, can you leave us with a last positive message?
You know how they say that the only thing that matters is love? This is actually because the only thing God can really feel for you is love. Everything under that vibration of consciousness is actually what you're transcending. So once you use this message, utilize me. In the words of another awakened being, which I have heard this from, and it's very true, use me while I'm here. Also, use your body while you're here. Use your body while it's warm. So you can actually enhance yourself here and connect to something that loves you and something that wants you to expand into the truth of being a boundless spirit being and not having any limitation and no longer giving your power to any species that is lower than you that wants to use you. You can actually exit that now and be free from the matrix.
Raad, thank you for your message, and thank you for being my guest.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.